My favorite question, my favorite adult question has become what that mouth do. It's a question that I love asking online. Like,
is you just a nigga? You know, old white man from Canada, or you just a nigga in Atlanta? I can't deal with this. When are you gonna be Nikki? Nikki in the 90s, late 90s. Nikki in the 99 and the 2000s.
Who was that person though? Who was that?
I don't know, but I really feel like she was a fraud. I feel like to get me into your friendship bed, you were this person, and now you're this other person. And we've already had kids, we already have history, and I'm like stuck. I can't quit you because always going to be like, where's the lady from the refrigerator? Because that's what she calls you. Where's your best friend from the refrigerator?
I can say, you want to quit me though? Those harsh words.
Yeah, when you turn into like the two extremes of what I hate, niggas and old white men from Kenner. It's got to be from Kenner. You got to specify that. It's like, yeah, I don't like either one of these groups, but I have to tolerate them in some parts of my life. And now my best friend is them. My best friend, my BOST FROHND.
You know, I actually move like either of those people. I just like to talk like they do.
No, that's what I used to tell myself. You are becoming these people.
No.
Yeah.
Is it because I mow my lawn? Come on.
I've gotten over that. That's like, okay. There are women who like that shit, and you know one of them. That's not even in the you are my person that I can say, oh, I have a friend. I know somebody that does that. That's a reference point for me. Other than that, Lance is doing that shit. I like to be there like, you want some lemonade? Okay. Until you build that there pergola, I'm going to be inside. Because I have my pergola yet. So I ain't coming out there. It's too fucking hot. Anyway, what was I going to say? No. So I got the first indication that you would turn into a nigger. I can pinpoint this shit. We were recapping Atlanta. You were mad at the lazy stripper that was kind of like in the background, like she wasn't really doing anything. Because that was an episode where the DJ was kind of like narrating the whole thing. Like every now and then, like you'd hear him be like, yeah, somebody call getting dough. Like it was like random. And you were like, yeah, I mean, you know what? I like to see some. I wonder what kind of person I'm actually becoming. You were like, I want to see some ass shaking. Like, I want to see something. And I do remember being like, huh? Like, what? Okay. But, you know, you went on and just said like, yeah, you know, I want to see something. And then that was my indication like, wow, that sounds like something a nigga would say. But I was just like, whatever. This is a new thing. Because I didn't know that you went to the extent of where you had like a taste profile.
Who doesn't like jiggling? It's interesting.
That isn't the point. I'm talking about 4 years ago, you saying that. Even you had paused before you said it to me. Like, it's recorded. Welcome to Rappin' Atlanta. I'm Nita Sharice.
And I'm Nikki.
And in this podcast, we have a frank, honest, and open conversation about the FX show Atlanta.
We have noticed that there are similar features in each show, and during our discussion, we offer our impressions on what those features are. There's a That's So Atlanta moment in each episode that most clearly and accurately depicts the spirit or quirk that is Atlanta and life in the American South.
Dariusisms highlight the special flavor the character Darius brings to the show because he is easily one of the most layered, complex, and compelling characters on television.
There always seems to be a mystical element or some strange thing that happens beyond all logical reason and sometimes scientific explanation. We've all experienced those kinds of moments.
And finally, the SGR moment is very plainly the moment in each show when shit got real and we are reminded that life is not a game and desperation has the power to motivate any and every possible action. This is season 4, episode 2, The Homeliest Little Horse. Earn assembles a gang to get revenge.
Mm.
I loved this episode.
So satisfying. It was so satisfying. Oh my goodness.
I love the way he used his privilege to be petty.
Just all of it. I'm like, is this what they do all the time? Is this what wealthy people do all the time?
I need to be wealthy, not to make sure that my child is set up for life, but so I can get the best revenge possible and bring random people into it. And it's like he's getting revenge, but he's creating jobs too. Shall we jump in?
Yes.
We open on this homeless little hoe lusting after this big black EMT nigga.
Oh my goodness. She was just like, you know how like there's a certain type of monkey whose ass turns red when they're in heat? Yeah. She was giving me those vibes.
So obvious. Like that dog probably didn't even need to go. The dog's probably like, man, I was done an hour ago. Like I get the feeling she just knows when this man gets home. But you know, if you live in such close quarters, whether you want to or not.
Yeah, you know your neighbors.
Yeah, that's how your neighbors move. And you know, gotta say, is my favorite type. You know, I've always been partial to a blue collar nigga. And this dude was literally had a blue collar. It's my favorite type. I love any kind of job where you like wear your name stitched. I'm weak. So like you got your name stitched and it's blue. Like you wear like steel toe boots. I am there.
Wow.
I love it. Yeah. I also like the educated suits, but even if I'm with like a lawyer, I want him to have a shirt. So I will buy him a shirt where his name is stitched. And he could be like part of the offer.
Okay.
My role play has to be someone who supports the economy in a very specific way. Yeah, but this dude is tired. Like he's getting home. Like he's getting home from work in this morning time. So like, and it says EMT. And she's like, morning. How you doing? And he's like not paying any attention to her because he's a smart Negro and knows this bitch turns up dead, then it's on me whether I was in her vicinity or not. So he ignores her, rightfully so.
Yeah.
And so then the next scene we see her, she's checking her email or whatever. And I just thought it was interesting, like the kind of music that she had on. So I already peeped like, okay, she wants this dude. And she's like listening to, I don't know who it was, like couldn't Shazam it or whatever, but it's like, this is Black music. So yes. It's like, okay, she's like.
It's like if there was a product that came out where you could like put on Black skin every now and then, she would buy it and use it. Like she yes.
The only thing that she was missing is she had a little dog. Like if she really wanted to go all in, she'd have a pit bull that was like.
Yeah.
Using the bathroom. So that's what was your impression of this woman? Just your first impression.
I really don't have a lot of positive things to say. Like
hey.
these are the kind of people that I grew up around, and so yeah, I don't have anything positive to say.
I feel that. I think this is a space where you could be negative, but I'm like panting for the tea, but it's fine. It's fine. So we see that she's checking her email and she gets an email from someone named Rosenbaum who says that he's interested in her manuscript. However, it's worded. What I thought was funny was that he was a literary agent to the Eastern Seaboard. Which to me was like, this is random. Like, you're the agent for everybody on the Eastern Seaboard, but okay, so.
What specifically does that mean? And then I noticed early on that it was CC'd to Tracy.
Yes. Yes. Now, I have to say, I didn't notice that the first time. Then the only reason why I noticed it the next time was because he appears. And so with it being Atlanta, at that point, I was like kind of just like, oh my God, just because I'm a fan of Atlanta, it's like something's always happening. But yeah, looking back, it's like, yeah, that should have been a clue because that nigga is unemployable. Like he's unemployable in what we call a normal setting. So, but yeah, I noticed that the second time, and I got the same thrill that I did where in the last season when they had the reparations episode and the woman did the black thumbs up, she changed it to a brown thumbs up. I had that same little thrill with like how they pay attention to the little details. I was like, oh my God, this is the brown thumbs up of season 4. The fact that it was CC to Tracy. So much detail, so much work put in. I appreciated it. So we figure out like, all right, this woman she's a writer and she's about to get her big break. And then do we switch to Earn in therapy after this scene?
Earn is driving and he's on the phone, and this really just like, oh, it's so cringeworthy. Because he tells Al that he's going to therapy, and Al is like starts laughing. He's like, this nigga, I get this nigga paid so much money, he's just throwing his money away. He going to therapy. Like, really?
And it's like, nigga, you need therapy more than anybody.
Yes.
Like that, but also that's Al. It's true to character. I think I would have thought that it was disingenuous if he had been like, wow, nigga, you taking control of your emotional life. That's good. I would have been like, nah, what the fuck is this? Who's dreaming now? Like, this isn't real. So, it was like, it was in keeping with his character. I also thought it was kind of funny that when we open up on the scene with the homeless little horse, because I'm calling her the homeless little horse, because that story was obviously it was an autobiography.
It was autobiographical, yes.
So she's like listening like to some Ashanti sound and stuff, and then like he's listening to like Joni Mitchell, which I was like, yeah, that's Earn. I'm not saying it was Joni Mitchell, but
yeah, that type.
General nigga right now, I'm like, I don't know, some Joni Mitchell sound of shit.
No, it was just very like yacht rockish, It was,
but it was like, yeah, this is Earn. Okay.
Yeah.
So when we discussed the last episode, we talked about how they're doing like, we noticed the little callbacks that they're doing to previous episodes or to previous seasons, excuse me. And something that I thought was funny, Al can't remember the password. And so he's like, oh, they're saying favorite movie. And I remember while I was watching it, I was like, oh, it's probably Scarface because niggas. And then he was like, oh, it's Scarface. And then Earn's like, no, this was middle school. So like, think of something from middle school, which immediately made me think about the episode that they had when they were in middle school. Mm-hmm. And just the whole exchange about Mulan was just funny.
Yeah.
Like, nah, think of Mulan. Oh shit, man, that worked. And it's like they're family, but they're friends. Like they've known each other for a long time. And also, what the fuck would Al do without Earn? Like,
I don't know.
Like, that middle school episode specifically showed like, oh, Earn has always needed Al, because that used to be the whole thing. But as we've seen, like it has flipped. Like, okay, so it's 4 seasons, so we could literally split up the life of this show into like seasons 1 and 2 is like all about, how Earn needs Al. But then seasons 3 and 4, it's like, yeah, Earn, you need him to just keep you on track. Like he knows Al better than he knows himself. And I think that, we started to see him boss up. Like we talked about this extensively last season, how he takes care of Al. This isn't a regular agent. Like he really does want the best for him. And we see that in just the beginning of season 3, where they're again making fun of him for talking about investing money. They laugh at him, but it's like Earn is making all the right moves. So then we see right before they hang up, he reminds him to do what? Call the realtor. Because Al is probably renting and he doesn't need to be. It's like put down roots. If all this stuff goes south, you got somewhere to stay. Like that's a real, that's a real investment. He is the adult in the relationship. So then he goes to see his therapist. What did you think about that whole thing? Just the dynamic between him and the therapist.
First of all, I was like, aren't you lucky you found a black male therapist? What?
Nice office.
Very nice office with the framed African garb and everything.
I loved it.
Nice dark color. It was such a soothing space. Like, yeah.
I was mad that this person like wasn't real. I was like, I need to see this therapist. Oh, that's an actor. Calm down.
Yeah. Yeah, he was very good looking, so that would have helped, just
I also heard that he is the one that voices the intros for the show. And when he started talking, it's all I could hear. Atlanta coming up next. Like I heard that was him. I read that on the message.
Wow, that's funny.
Yeah, I was just like, I can't hear anything, but like I'm seeing like the opening, like the aerial shots of Atlanta and getting excited that Atlanta's coming on. Okay, focus on the scene. Yeah, he was cute. He wasn't weird. He was like really listening.
Mm-hmm.
Ern was pissing me off and he wouldn't put down his fucking phone, although he did have a point. This pays for this, but it's like, okay, but you're a boss now. You can silence your calls and people like you'll get back to them.
Yeah, and he was probably legitimately experiencing stress. I think they probably could have told him in a more like, respectful way. Like, hey,
because what did he say? How did he
he told them, making shit up. I'm healthy and I'm making shit up and I need to get my head checked. Like,
really messed up. But I think it's fair to say that Ern is probably super paraphrasing.
Yes.
Paraphrasing and like juicing things.
I mean, depending on who he's working with though, like still. And his doctors, depending on who his doctors are, they could I don't know. Yeah, if he's going to a medical professional in Atlanta, yeah, he's getting some harsh medicine. I'm a witness.
Damn.
So,
that is rough. That's rough.
It is rough. But he's also wearing an EKG.
Like there were. Oh, I've seen those even before. That seemed like extra little nodes. Like that's a lot of nodes. They are worried about him. I was worried about him.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, is this what we're gonna do? Is Ern gonna die? Don't go.
He is living in kind of a high stress situation. We saw how busy he was in Europe and everything, the moves he was making, thinking ahead. He's like,
and he's the only one too. Like he doesn't have like a partner to share the mental load because Al just thinks, come on, man. why are you so busy?
And he's handling multiple clients as well now, so he's thinking, he's making a lot of connections and making a lot of moves and stuff.
I'm happy for him.
But I'm happy for him too. But if it's something that comes natural to him, obviously it is, because in order for him to have, developed this plan to get back at this woman, what a lot of like planning. What a lot of like meticulous, careful planning, like the amount of time he spent studying this woman online, because I'm sure he like found out what her name was, then found out her information, looked up everything there was, found out that she, writes books or whatever. She probably has her bio online or whatever, and just.
I also wondered if he ever had any interaction, or maybe not any interaction, but like he used to work at the airport.
Yeah, he did as well.
Like, I wondered, I mean, with your place like the airport, I'm sure there are people that you can recognize in the public, and you work together, but like you never have to really deal with them. Mm-hmm. But this is a long shot. But what if she recognized Ern?
From when he used to work at the airport?
He used to work, and like now you have a passport and it's kind of worn, so like you can use that shit.
Yeah.
Because one thing that white people do, they count other people's money constantly. They're in other people's business all the time. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised. Like that is a stretch, but I mean, these are smart writers and they like to connect things. And we've been calling back to previous seasons. That's the first thing I thought was he used to work with that stupid nigger. Like trying to get people to sign up for like Delta Sky Miles and shit or whatever it was. Because remember that old lady?
Yeah.
That was I want her to come back. But yeah, like she's a go-getter. She needs to be his assistant. But she'd be probably like snaking clients though. But anyway, so Ern's in therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He brings up Kim Porter. Like, if they did this shit to Kim Porter, I was like, they do it to me. I'm like, wait a minute, what is this Kim Porter thing? Did you find any information on that?
I'm looking at a BET article, and they're quoting, it says, Kim Porter's sudden death has many calling out doctors who ignored who ignore Black women's pain. Details surrounding Kim Porter's death are still servicing, but reports say she passed away after being treated for pneumonia. Thought it was a heart thing. While not implicitly a continuum, it follows a trend in America that's been going on for too long. We all know that they don't listen to us. Black women are 3 times more likely to die from being pregnant than white women, and Black people in general are systematically undertreated for pain. And then they go into like Kyra Johnson, Serena Williams. And they're talking about even though it wasn't due to having a child, she was still ignored. There's another woman named Danielle Radford. I've never heard of, a comedian. She was hit by a bus and went viral for sharing her story and the fact that doctors simply prescribed her Advil for her pain. She was hit by a bus. Never heard about this. She went viral for the absurdity of the story, but also because she sparked a conversation for so many Black women who received less than adequate medical care for serious ailments, mostly because they simply were not believed. Again, it's like, this must be like really new because they don't have a lot of information. Again, it's unclear what actually happened in Kim Porter's case, but if medical neglect had anything to do with her circumstance, it wouldn't be the first time, even for a healthy and financially well-off celebrity.
Yeah, as somebody who's been to the doctors out here, especially in Atlanta, I know I went to this one doctor. There was something growing in my jaw, and I'm like, is this thyroid or whatever? It's causing me pain. And I was on like a video call with the doctor, and the doctor was like, well, yeah, I'm not sure what to tell you over the computer. So yeah, you just want to take some pain meds. And I'm just like, wait a minute, you're not going to sit here and ignore my symptoms. Now, I know something is wrong with my body. Now, if you're not going to give me excellent care, you're going to notate my chart and you're going to refer to me to somebody else who will give me the attention that I deserve.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to give me the runaround just because I'm Black. Oh, I'm not trying to do that. I was like, then do your job. So then he made an appointment, went in, lo and behold, there was some sort of infection going on. I needed antibiotics. But I'm like, I shouldn't have to threaten that motherfucker, to get care. Like, my insurance is paid for. So why are you tripping? How do you think
fair
the appointment in the first place? Like, what the fuck? So anyway, that's real. I can understand Ern's concern, but I also admire the fact that he actually did go ahead and go to a therapist. Yeah. Go ahead and get the therapy, because it's good talking to somebody who's like unbiased. They don't want nothing from you. Well, I mean, your money. But
I mean, it is their job.
Yeah. It's their job to listen to you, help you figure things out. They're not going to spoon feed you. I could not get that out of my mouth. You the answer, like, help you arrive at your own decision. And it's cool. It's just nice having somebody to bounce your thoughts off of.
Yeah.
It's no biggie. It doesn't mean that you're crazy. It means that you care enough about yourself to make sure you're okay.
And the people around you who have to deal with you.
Exactly.
And you need to have somebody that doesn't have a predetermined opinion, doesn't know shit about you, that, like, no matter how impartial they try to be, they have history with you, and that's going to color like what they think. That's why sometimes the people who are closest to you can't see that you've changed, or that like maybe you're making an effort, because they've been around you and they've only seen one thing, and they're human. So, like, that's really important. It kind of reminded me of in Insecure, when whatever season it is, when Molly starts to go to therapy, and it's like, oh, she's really trying, because another character said something about therapy, and she was like, what? She had the attitude like Al did. And just like how seeing that was, I think it's important to see, even though it's TV, like you have said many times, like, it takes entertainment sometimes to cause like a societal change. And so it really reminded me of that. But it's even better that it was a Black man, because I think, we all have hangups as Black people, but men for sure, just as far as like being masculine, you can see how Al reacted to it. Like, it is important. And it was nice to see this relationship. It's two Black men, and like, Ernie's the only one sharing feelings, but it's like, this man made him feel comfortable, doing it. Like, he really seems like he's invested in Ern getting better, or like creating a safe space.
Like I said, this guy is lucky. He found a good-looking Black guy who's actually good at therapy and is not trying to just sit there and like, learn gossip about you so they could go back and like talk shit to the members.
And have like the best therapist stories. Because it's like, this is just a person. Like, this isn't like a magical, like caring. Like, this is still just a human who I'm telling my business to,
I think there was a minister who was actually doing that. I want to say that there was, God, who was telling me
what?
That? I have to ask Emmanuel. I think there was actually a minister who was doing that where, oh no, this is the minister that I grew up with.
Oh my God. It always goes back to them people. They have impacted your life so much. These crazy people. Oh my God. Those people.
While my mom was out here visiting, I was just like, I asked her why we only went to a counseling session with that pastor once. And she said, well, because I kept hearing about people who had gone to see him on a regular basis, and then their story would end up in a sermon the next Sunday. He talking about their shit in the pulpit.
This nigga is getting content for his sermons. But you know what? They don't sign anything. Like, because they aren't real therapists where like you can sue. If like
come on, like it's a church community. And like you think about how people will, if they're really involved in church, they make friends in church. You pray with your fellow church members and everything. Yeah. The ones you hang out with, you like do babysitting. So, yeah, it's a community. So like at a certain point, depending on how involved you are, you might not like roll with the motherfuckers, but you know how they roll because you go to church with them. So everybody knows your business. If he's
whether you want them to or not, yeah.
Yeah.
It's especially those people that are like, oh, I need you to pray for Sister Nikki. Did you hear about her? And it's like, you don't need nobody to pray. You just gossiping.
Yeah.
Looking in this shit with like spiritual platitudes.
Yeah.
Like, pray. Nobody ever prays. It's just like.
So will Earn move to LA without Van? I think that he's discussing that while he's does he reveal? He doesn't reveal the Princeton issue at that point, does he?
I feel like that happens
on the next visit.
The next time, because he's talking about spite, and I have never felt more one with Earn. And I liked that the therapist he gave some validity to that. Like, yeah, that can be an emotion and I'm like, fuck yeah, it is. My house is the cleanest when I'm angry. My vocabulary improves. Like the education that I've gotten is never more present than when I am very angry. That's why I like to be angry. When I'm happy, no shit gets done. Like things don't get done. And I talk like I ain't got no sense. Like right now. That's not good because I'm not happy right now, but still, it's just like when I am angry and there's like, or I have somebody to like funnel my hatred towards, I mean, things are fabulous. I'm convinced that there was a period in my marriage where Lance was pissing me off so that shit could get done. So yeah, spite is awesome.
She's at the book agent's office. We discovered Tracy is working there.
No customer service. No professionalism.
The school said, hey, you. Come on.
So irritated. But he looks really good.
Yeah.
He's so good. I love his hair.
Yeah.
Like Tracy is attractive. He's, I never want him around me, but like I don't want to be in his care ever. But he looks good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just nice to look at from a safe distance. But,
yeah, like far away.
Like far away, like hey, like no, don't run over. Yeah, stay over there. Like,
Ew. Oh my God.
She goes to the book agent. And like you had pointed this out before, but also I noticed it, but I just kind of dismissed it. But I was just like, all the children's books are Black. Like, who is this guy?
Like Freedom Road, like all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can't say I predicted that this was like a long, no, but something felt off. Number one, Tracy had a job.
Yeah. Yeah. It was that was different. Like
Yeah.
somebody hired you? Like you're looking a lot better, but somebody hired you? Like, look how you're talking.
And the way, like, did you notice how Ern, like, now that we know that Ern was the mastermind, how he leaned into like, okay, this dude is Jewish. Like it was like super, like from the email, like what's the first name? Like something like Gerald is like,
it's like Gary Rosenbaum.
like, yeah, the Rosenbaum. And then we meet him, he's like, to the Eastern Seaboard. I'm like, okay, why didn't he just give him a bagel and lox and like have like the music playing in the background? It was like, this is kind of a lot.
Was how he's like, oh, you don't have an illustrator? I'll get somebody over at Scat Atlanta. I'm like, yes.
Like, oh, most Atlanta part 2.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So then we go back to the therapist, and I just love episodes like this where like we're just trying to figure out how the things are connecting.
Yes.
And how this is all connecting. But we go back over to the therapist, and this is when he says that he trusts Darius the most. And that's when I'm like, what?
Yeah. And the only thing that I could think is whatever we can say about Darius, he's always Darius. Mm-hmm. Like, I had to say, because I'm still mad at Darius. I think we're the only ones who still are. Yeah. But like Darius, he's always Darius. Like he doesn't switch up.
He's consistent.
He is consistent. The only time to me he wasn't consistent, or we started to see his Dariusness as maybe like a little nefarious, was that one episode, because it was weird. But in this, like in the same, by the same token, it's like, yeah, but he was still Darius. Like he never is like, well, I decided not to do this because this person was there, or it was this situation. He's always just like, he's always trying to barter in the middle of looting. He's like, oh, I thought we could make a trade. Like that's not where the normal person's mind goes. It's like, listen, I don't have my receipt, but I bought it here. I'll take a store credit. He's like, maybe we can barter. And it's like, you're always Darius. So that was the only way that I could quiet that. But I'm still mad. It's still unexplained to me.
He did finally reveal what happened in Princeton. And I felt for him, but also like, oh my goodness. Because we wondered about that. How did he adapt in an all-white situation? And he was swallowed up like a lot of babies are, because it's not a safe space. And like, if you don't have that conniving spirit within you, kind of, well, because it kind of, you have to just always be watching your back and always have one ready to go, like just some sort of plan or come back or whatever. That's how you have to operate in that space, because it's not safe. You're in the wild. And I guess we imagine that he was better equipped than he was, but I think he learned, after having had that experience.
Yeah, he learned, but like Ern is always, it's like, yeah, you have to have the conniving spirit. Like you have to expect the worst of them. And he obviously did it, but he also, because of how he is, he's one of those Black people that probably just within himself felt more comfortable with white people. Like, cause they've drawn this comparison constantly, like, and whether it's Donald Glover, like talking about himself, it's like the way that he moves, it does seem like maybe he's also just more comfortable. But I was also like mad at him because it's like, yeah, but you went into this trusting them. You treated them like people who could be trusted. And the womankind, like the white women, like you trusted that. Like this woman speaks up, oh, I'll hold on to your suit. And you just trusted that. Like
after overhearing you going to a party with your crush, when you were sitting at the library hanging out with her, and yeah, like you don't think that was get back? You don't think that was spite?
I could see what was coming a mile down the road, but then it also made me mad at him and feel like, well, nigga, of course this happened. Like it will never cease to amaze me, Black dudes who just like hang out with white girls in the most racist areas. Like, yes, it's Princeton, but we all know that there's no difference, north and south. But like when I'll see Black guys a football player and you're like in Alabama and you're like hanging out with this white girl. Like, what is wrong with you? If this girl has an asthma attack, it's gonna be your fault. Like, why are you trying to mess yourself up? I'm sorry, you can't be that. That will never be okay. Whatever happens to that girl, it's gonna be your fault.
I'm wondering if he was aware, though. Like, I genuinely wonder if he was aware. Like, he grew up in Atlanta. He was born and raised in Atlanta. Of course, there's an awareness about Atlanta whiteness, or the dynamics, the racial dynamics in Atlanta, I should say. Like, the North is something new. Like, much like the West Coast, it's not overt. Like, the relationships are not the same. And, if you're also kind of protected, because you're saying that he was one of those types that seemed more comfortable moving in white spaces. He didn't fit the archetype for a big black nigga,
Yeah.
So he might
like his cousin. Yeah.
He might have felt safer, and he genuinely might have thought that their treatment of him, because probably up until that point, his color didn't feel like it mattered.
Because he's so smart.
Yeah.
Like, you're one of the talented ones.
Yeah. And so, like, he probably felt a sense of relief, like, oh, I'm just able to talk shop with this person and I don't have to focus on this stuff. It is that's the environment it is. And a lot of people don't know, if you're not used to it, like, watch your back.
I ain't gonna say no more.
Okay.
But I ain't feel sorry for him at all.
I was just glad that we finally knew what happened.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's why he went so hard on Lisa, because he's still mad at the other chick.
Yeah. I mean, he was railroaded, but that's what they will do. But yeah, like, and it should not, God, it's true. Yes, he should have known better, because you always have to know better. But it's also like that thing where it's like, yeah, you should be able to wear whatever the fuck you want and not get raped or not be targeted for rape. But at the same time,
that's not the world that we live in.
It's not the world we live in.
And this enlightenment hasn't reached everybody.
Yeah. And you still got to protect yourself no matter what this world
Thank you. This younger generation that's got it, they still have to continue to live to move the needle. Like, they still aren't in charge.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They control culture because it's certain, like, that's just how it will always be. But we can't say, well, I should be, you should. You should. I should be able to get my house appraised without having to hide the fact that I'm Black. Yeah. But if I want the most of my money, I'm taking all these fucking pictures down.
Yes. Yeah, this is the world that we live in. This is the reality that we live in.
Yeah,
but
so,
we have to like we understand how reality works.
Thank you.
No matter how much we want it to be different. And so I'm just like, oh goodness, am I working overtime to teach my kids something else and to make sure their friends are getting it too? Yes, I am. But I know that there's only so many people I can reach inside this community, and like, they're raising little racist bastards right now. So you don't feel any pity for Earn whatsoever. Okay, yeah.
I did initially, just because that's so frustrating, especially when he started talking about how they switched it to like using the language as if he raped her, like, because he went in the room. That was a desperate situation. And you know what? If there's a way to get the suit, like, just get it. And if she was a real friend, it would have been like, oh, all right. Like, she would have seen how she was wrong for that, but she was trying to fuck over him. So to make it to where like he raped her, but that's typical white shit. So I did, because I am human. I felt bad for him, and I could see like how that would snowball. And then you remember that you were Black, and remember that they could also see that you were Black. But then at the same time, it's like, well, that nigga learned. Like, you should have known. Because I'm not saying that all Black women are perfect, but I can't see a sister doing that. I can't see, unless you had fucked with her, but I can't see her just randomly doing it. I just can't. Because it's like, oh my God, like, this is an opportunity for you. We've talked extensively and like at length about how we kind of naturally just sort of take care.
Yeah.
I just don't think that would have happened.
No, there's no way that it would have. And
unless you had done something to that girl, like, you're supposed to be my boyfriend and you were like fucking somebody else. I just can't see it.
I think that I looked up African Americans in Princeton University. There's an article, a brief history. I will share it in the show notes. So it was a big deal, him being in that university, and him getting invited back, also a big deal.
Yeah, but like you said, but only because of potential donations and what he could do for them. So I totally understand why he was like, fuck you. And if I were him, I would use my platform to even write like an op-ed or something, like put them on blast. Because at the very least, maybe he should have gotten like cited, or I think something probably should have happened because he did use the master key the way he did, right? Like there should have been something. But at the same time, she did what white women have been doing for years, and just she cried nigga and everybody came running and didn't look at anything else. You know? So using that rape language and assault, she knew what she was doing. They always know.
You know, and that again is, if this was being written and filmed in 2020, you know, it's another example of the whole Karen thing, you know, weaponizing authority figures against Black people for whatever reason. And I keep on bringing up this book. It's taking me forever to finish it because it's a hard read, but it's called They Were Her Property. It's by Stephanie E. Jones Rogers, White Women as Slave Owners in the American South. Just so many parallels between like what happens today with what happened then, what was codified into law, and the common practices. Like, it's just, I just recommend this reading because it just clarifies things. And when you understand why it's happening, it's easier to understand, like, okay, this is where it's coming from. Yes, it's annoying, but you are not going to take my joy. You are not. Like, you're sick, you're suffering from an illness that you've had for a long time. You know, let me not give you my energy. But yeah, it's a historical thing that they do and have done. And in that respect, that's why my heart went out to Ern, and then also to learn that he was a victim of family abuse. So I'm like, what family member did something to you? Who was that? Was it your uncle? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe more of that will come out, since by the end of this episode, he's like, I need to go back to there.
Yeah.
We're going to get therapist pay back. So.
So then what happens? We go to Lisa because Lisa has quit her job at the airport. She at the cafe telling her friend, the friend is like, bitch, I ain't giving you no more money.
I appreciated that scene, and that actress, I have to get her name. I think she did a good job in that scene of conveying, like, okay, this is my friend and I want to show support, but this is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
It was very stupid. It's like, you just had an appointment. Nothing has happened yet. At least wait until you get some money, you know? But then, like, Lisa's stupid because even when Mr. Rosenbaum was like telling her what to do, it's like, even what he's telling her to do sounds sketchy. Like, oh, get your hair done and go to this person. Like, look for the person with the hat. That none of that seemed legit. And she asked no questions. He's like, I know where to send you to go get your hair done and such and such. And I'm just like, this dumb bitch is not asking not one question, like, at all. She was just like, okay. And you quit your job based on that. Like, you have to have some money flow into your account first to give you a glimpse of like what it could be. Keep that job until it's absolutely necessary. Like, make enough money to be able to get rich people insurance first, you dumbass. This girl has a job and she's been loaning her money. Yeah. Like, yeah, you being mad reckless right now. Because you can see she was like, okay, you can do this, but you ain't getting no more money from me. I respected that.
Yeah. She's like, do you even like my writing?
And she didn't answer her.
No.
Which made me think that the book wasn't going to be good, but that book was fine. It's like, okay, this is
it. Yeah, it was
fine. It rhymed. Yeah. So I was like, what is her friend like? It made me wonder, has her friend even read the book? Because that was a solid children's book. Like,
it was a solid children's book. Like, if you didn't know her.
As a teacher, I was like, oh yeah, you can do a lot of little like rhyming prediction.
Caught on fire because of 4th of July fireworks.
I wasn't paying attention to all of that. I was just like, oh, that's a cute book.
Afterwards, Ern goes to the therapist and he reveals his failed attempt at going to Princeton. So we know a lot of time has passed.
Yeah.
And so yeah, he's been working this plan no, he didn't start working that plan because he just
it had just happened because he still hadn't gotten the bag. So some time had passed, but not enough. Did you peep where they were heading to?
Wait a minute. Sesame Place?
Yeah. You heard about that, right? The shit that was happening at Sesame Place?
No.
Like a month or so ago. So they put on these parades with like Sesame Street characters, and there's all this footage about a month ago.
Oh, about the kids not being waved at?
Yeah, or them like pushing little black children like out of the way. That was Sesame Place.
Yeah, ignoring the black.
It was funny. I'm like, they are always like referencing like things that are happening. Because when it happened, it was like, yeah, Ern, y'all didn't miss anything. Lottie would have gotten knocked upside the head. Like, it's like you can see Big Bird being like, fuck niggas. Because one video came out and people were trying to like, well, maybe. And then other people started being like, oh, really? Here's my video. It's one of those typical social media things. And then people were like, oh. And then because Sesame Street made no attempt, like maybe they didn't know about it, but it made enough of a ripple to where Sesame Street was like, we're not affiliated. But then somebody else was like, yeah, y'all kind of are.
Yeah,
like
the Sesame Street.
They are partially, but it's why they don't say Sesame Street, they say Sesame Place. But you're affiliated enough to where you granted whatever type of license, like you're not suing these people for saying Sesame Place. It is a thing. Yeah. But specifically, they show these videos where it was like Kev on stage posted the best ones where they're pretty much like negging, just like
yeah.
Like I almost wanted to laugh. But I was mad because if that had happened, and I know if it had happened to your boys, if that had happened to my baby and my nieces and nephews, yeah, we'd be doing this and we'd have like prison bars in front of us. Like, all right, Rappin Atlanta coming to you from Philadelphia. I wish you would. Like, it was obvious. Because that first one, even Black people were like, well, maybe they didn't see. Because like people were talking about, hey, I used to be a mascot. And like talking about how your depth of perception, like you can't see.
Yeah.
But then people were like, hold all of our beers. And then like, nah, that nigga saw. One actually palmed a black kid's face almost and moved him out of the way. And I did laugh. So that, that was just funny. Like, oh, y'all were going to Sesame Place. Maybe that lady did you a favor. She saved your ass. So yeah, just her, just the audacity of just like, oh, your passport is too worn. And his therapist and him had that same response, like, for a domestic flight, and then just how she just refused. And then the fact that Van was able to flag down a Black woman and everything was fine. So yeah. What stood out to me was, so y'all just letting this woman get away with this.
Yeah.
She's just allowed to keep doing this. Like, at some point, it is the airport's fault because people have complained. And that employee knows, oh, she's always doing this. So yeah. I don't fault the employee because like most places, they're not going to listen to the employees. There has to be pressure from the outside before any change is made. And that pissed me off. And that shit happens. It happens. So, but in my alternate universe, that woman knew who Ern was and was pissed that he was no longer selling, Delta Sky miles. And how dare he better his life and have a passport that has been getting some use. So I'm going to fuck with him. But at the same time, I'm lusting after niggas and listening to Ashanti type music. And I have edges. He sent us to that place and they gave her edges. And they were good.
Yeah, they were extra whole.
Like, they were elaborate. That shit looked like calligraphy.
Like I wasn't mad at her little outfit. She looked just very cosmopolitan,
She looked better.
Yeah, she looked a lot better, and she was feeling good about herself going into that room, like just a den of vipers. because she was not ready. And I want to know like how he planned that. Did they say like, okay, if she reads this book, when you get to page such and such, this is what your response is going to be? Was it ad-libbed? Like,
girl, he went to a public school and got them children and said, treat her like you treat subs. Cause that was all too familiar. That shit has never happened to me, but I've had to be the one that comes in and like, now y'all know better than this. Now y'all know that Miss Nikki does not put up with this. Now stop it. And then they all, no, he had to tell them children nothing. They looked at her and they were like, TFA core member, we know what to do.
Oh,
yep. That shit is true. That scene reminded me of people who are in the classroom that shouldn't be. Because she could not control. All she had to do was answer them.
Yeah, just
all she had to do was just answer. Well,
yeah, she just ignored them because she showed fear. So like they smell blood in the water.
Oh my God. That was just like, this is so fucking real. Like you're just like, well, maybe if I ignore them, that only makes them angrier. Because you don't care. Yeah. Like you don't care that they make the connection. You don't care. And it's like standing your truth. Like that book wasn't, I mean, it was pretty basic, but it wasn't like it was bad. Any rhyming book, and she wasn't reading it with any like you really got to put on. Like you got to, this is the best thing you'll hear. Like even if it's not. And so they actually started off pretty mild. I'm like, girl, just a simple, just answer well, because it is. And you got to know how to get a little spicy back, but still keep it cute.
Exactly.
But even though she's trying to be Black, she's ultimately afraid of Blackness. Yeah. And I think there were white kids. Like it was kind of a mixed little group, but I don't know if any of the non-Black kids said anything. And I could be wrong. But the most attitude came from the kids where it's like, bitch, I go to public school. Like I have no fear of adults at all or of any authority. And they can smell it on you, and she was just, and she just kept reading. I'm like, you about to lose them. And then they got up and walked out. And then just to see that all that was playing, that just made it like even funnier, like thinking back.
Yes, the fact that it was being looped onto the screens in the celebratory party that they had for all the actors. And
then he said a rap, but he called it a rap party. I'm like, oh my God.
What it reminded me of is back in season 1, when he was at that party and that woman told him, I will see to it that you die homeless.
Yes.
So
now that we have that context, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I saw this on a Reddit thread, which, oh my God, don't go on Reddit. But this was a good point. Somebody said, now that I've watched episode 2, this scene hits different. And it was the scene when they performed at the college and those girls, I forgot what those girls did to them, but they wouldn't give them back something. Remember? And he got pissed and he like banged on it. And it's like, wow, can you imagine what he is reliving right now? Because he was pissed. Because I think like even Darius was like, like, man, calm down. So that compounded with Tracy, who punked him the whole time, right? Yeah. Remember, Tracy just kept picking with him and picking with him.
Remember, he said, Tracy was like, yeah, I'm coming for you next.
And he's like tired of people, like just because of how I present, people from big Black niggas to little white girls. This episode makes me want to go and watch everything. And like everything does, it takes on a different significance because they turned it into a GIF. Him in those TLC pajamas banging on that door. And it's like, oh, this is another girl that's messing with, like, toying around with your future, like with your livelihood. Yeah. So I guess I was wrong because that was a Black chick that did that. But in that case, she even had more of a reason than this white girl, whatever. But yeah, this episode was masterful. Like, I just loved it. And it was also the way that both Darius and Al were like, you did all of this? Like, they looked scared. Al looked scared and concerned.
Yeah.
And I could see him being like, yeah, remember when I was laughing at you about therapy? Like, go back to that shit. Like, I'm glad you're getting rich enough to go to therapy. Like, nigga. Matter of fact, look, I'll also go to therapy. I don't know who the fuck I am. So, like, this show is it's just really, really good. And I liked how they don't have to hit you over the head with things. You just have to pay attention.
Yeah.
and everything comes together. So I really appreciated that. And did you feel sorry for her at all?
No.
Me either.
You just don't mess with people, like, especially if you don't have any reason to. Like, there's never any reason to mess with somebody. Like why? You couldn't let them go on your trip because you felt badly, because you felt like you should have more than them. Like, what the fuck?
Because that you've said this before, whether we were like talking about caste or whatever, but like they really have put into their heads starting centuries ago that there's something in us, in our DNA, that literally makes us better. And then they grow up really believing that. So that's how you can go and take down a Black town, because you feel like these people shouldn't have this. So no, I didn't feel sorry, because it's like, yeah, he's affected your life. He didn't tell you to quit your job, you stupid ass.
I'm just so like, the amount of work he put into learning how to pull her buttons or push her buttons, it was magnificent. Yep. Yes. So, okay. So what are our elements? Let's go through. Let's finish this.
Elements.
Yeah, That's So Atlanta.
That's So Atlanta. Who's my That's So Atlanta for this one? I didn't write this one. I don't think I really had one. There was nothing that specifically stood out to me for this episode.
Mine was, of course, Scat Atlanta. So.
Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true. The Dariusism, I didn't really have a Dariusism for this one. There was nothing specific. I mean, like, Darius was shocked when he was like, nigga, you still mad? But I don't remember him saying something that was like, oh, Darius. Yeah, not really.
It wasn't anything really.
He had an appropriate response. He didn't say something crazy like, oh, that's because you were born into the fourth moon or something weird. No. It was just like, nigga, you need to let this go. So,
yeah. He is a sound mind.
Yeah.
Was there a mystical element?
If I'm trying to be cute, my mystical element would be the fact that Tracy had a job, which he turned out to not. Had a regular job like that you could do in the daylight.
This fool said, the thing is like, he was being CC'd on the email, but he's on the phone saying like, you need me to email that. Well, what if I send it on masthead? Like, that suffices, because that fool don't know how to do email.
How much you want to bet Ern gave him a series of things to just say? Like when you have those dolls and like you pull the string and there's like 10 different things that they say. I wouldn't be surprised if Ern was like running monologue, like just keep saying this shit. Because he knows Tracy and it's like, if I don't give this nigga something to do, that's stuff for all of us. But a note on Tracy, I did appreciate how Ern did kind of freak him out. Like he gave him his money and then he said something to Ern like, man, this nigga crazy. And then Ern, I think, Yeah, just like kind of how he like paused. But Ern is kind of like showing them that like, yeah, I'm the one that y'all are never scared of, but I'm the one that you worry about.
Yeah.
Because it's the calm motherfuckers that go and shoot places up. It's never the person that's always mad.
Yeah.
Like rarely. So yeah. Sorry, you already called attention to that, but I forgot. The SGR moment, I would probably have the same.
Yeah, pretty much when it all came to a head. and she was just like, no agent, no audience, just her and that little sad ass little book about the homeliest little horse.
Did you expect for that dog to get hit? Because I did. I thought that was going to be the cherry on top, because the dog wanders away from her. She's sitting in her car.
Oh yeah,
and like crying, and I think the dog either hops out of her arms or you're kind of like distracted. And I was like, oh my, because even Lance was like, oh no. And I thought like, because she's in a parking lot, it looks like, and I just knew that a truck was gonna come and just hit. I mean, because like, wouldn't that just be the cherry?
That would be
not really, but like,
yeah, that would be terrible.
I'm so glad that they didn't do that, because that dog, you don't pick your owner.
Yeah, the dog didn't have anything to do with that. But I think it was just funny that how she was trying to get the dog into the library event as a
service animal.
Yeah, and the dog would not even comfort her when she was sad. The dog was just like, the dog
probably hates her.
Yeah.
And doesn't that just remind you of like how the enslaved people had to be like, I can't stand this motherfucker. I can't stand this motherfucker, but I can't go anywhere. One thing that probably should have tipped us off that something was up was the librarian was extra mean. Like, no, we don't like Lisa, but she was just already like, bitch. Like, she was like, that's not a service dog.
She was like, where you going, Italians?
And then she went, which brought me back to like, yeah, this agent just had like all these, like something is up, but I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I just knew something is off about this. But like, now that I know that woman was an actress, like what I want to see is Ern's initial meeting with everybody. Like, I've called you all together because I'm going to get this bitch. And like, he told everybody to be on 10 plus 10. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Lisa found that dog right before him, like Ern planted the fucking dog. Like, just, you don't like this bitch. Like, this pet is a recent acquisition, and you find out that the dog is like one of those like trained like actor dogs. It's like smoking, like, oh, I could stand that. This is the hardest assignment I've ever had. Like,
how would he get the dog back though? Like,
the motherfuckers be trained. So that part where he wandered off from her, all you need is an animal trainer to be like, like those dogs are fucking professional.
You're funny. Oh my God. Okay.
It's the show.
So yeah, that's everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. Like, that's, if we ever do like a top whatever.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite episodes too. Just masterful. Thank you for watching. Rappin' Atlanta is recorded and produced by Nita Charisse and Nikki Ibo. Our theme music is Joy Clark's Galaxy Groove, performed by Joy Clark. Discover more about this talented artist at joyclarkmusic.com. Rappin' Atlanta's artwork is created by Prime Vice Studios. Learn more about this intellectual property development agency at primevice.com. You can find us on your favorite podcast player as well as YouTube. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, and follow Rappin' Atlanta on Twitter and Instagram at Rappin' Atlanta.